Okie dokie. How's everyone doing this evening? Anyone as tired as me after an entire day of mastermind and coaching? Right. So we always do this at the Fireside Chat. So there's a couple of things. The first one is, does anyone have any questions or anything that you'd like to go through? The second one is, if there's anyone that hasn't done accountability that wants to do accountability, please let me know. And then the third one is, I've got like a learning lesson that I want to share with you. That's something that I'm doing with the 12K members and that I'm doing for myself. And I thought it'd be valuable for me to share with you what I'm doing so that you can do the exercise yourself if you want. So help me help you. Where are we at? Do we have questions? iPhone has accountability, so that doesn't help me because I have no idea who iPhone with smiley face is. Heidi. Okay, Heidi, you're up. Heidi, come in.
Okay,
Heidi.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Yeah, spot on.
Sorry, this is since I've signed up, this is the first anything Zoom. I'm on Linux and I'm on de-Googled phones and things, so I'm struggling to get to Zooms. So I can only do it on my old cell phone. So I don't even know what accountability is.
Okay. Well, let me show you quickly. So let me help you quickly. So boom, boom, boom. Okay. So
Was it that thing that we did like with the spreadsheet? Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So if
So
you
that's
go,
so I have done it once.
yeah. So what we'll do,
Oh yes.
what we'll do is, let me just role play for everyone because it's always useful to role play. So what you would do basically is you kind of want a word for the year. Mine is $1 million. And then basically you want to kind of review your outcomes. Again, at this time of the year in January, you want to review your outcomes, your priorities, and your measures. Okay, so I went through this and I reviewed my outcomes and my measures. I did explain this morning, but let me just get this open quickly. So we did the know your numbers, and I actually did the exercise myself. Where's it gone now? Oh, there it is. So there were my goals, my 30 days, my 90 days. So like I kind of reviewed it all, put it all kind of together, etc. But anyway, that's your priorities. And then on a monthly basis, what you want to do is you want to go and review, did I do what I said I'd do for the last month? Green is I've done it. Orange is I've, it's still a work in progress. And red is I haven't done it. And then what are my actions for next month? And ideally, these tasks, there should only be one tied to these outcomes, priorities, and measures. So you want to keep it simple. If you've got 30 things to do, you won't do it. If you've got
Okay.
2 things to do, you probably will. And then, this is just a useful review of the month. What are your highlights? What are your challenges? That sort of thing. So, and then if you've got any questions. So for me, that's just kind of the role play from an accountability perspective. On a monthly basis, the primary aim is to review whether you said you'd done what you said you'd done, and to make sure that you've got your targets for the next 12, the next 30 days kind of ahead. So that's the sort of the idea. And the whole rhythm is that, we set up on an annual basis, we set up our outcomes, our priorities, and our measures. And then on a monthly basis, we're checking in against those outcomes, priorities, and measures, and making measurable progress every month towards them.
Okay, cool.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And I do remember the first thing that we discussed, the one sort of point number one, and that has been accomplished. And the one that I'm struggling with is making time for myself. So so that there's one red and one green, and I can't even remember what the middle one was. So I'll go.
Do me a favor. If you need to, let me know, because I've got everyone's meeting recorded on my iPad. So I've got, if you need to be, I can go back and get it for you.
Yeah. No, you did give me a spreadsheet, and I did make notes, so I'll be fine. I just need to find this spreadsheet somewhere. I get that, don't I?
Perfect. Yeah, all good. So
Thank you.
that's exactly what you're wanting to do. I think the whole thing, and you've all heard me say this a lot of times, but like the whole thing for me was when I was originally doing this with Roger Hamilton, although I was tended to do it the night before the mastermind, it still meant I was making measurable progress every month versus kind of waiting to the end of the month.
Yeah.
And then Heidi, the only other thing that I want to show you, which again, I bring up all the time, but it's so valuable to do it again at this time of the year, is this here, which is the weekly plan. And so, when you say you're battling to get time to yourself, etc., the best way to do that is to sit down now for your year and say, like, right, what would a great week look like? And just sort of set it up and say, like, right, I don't know if you noticed there's a rhythm here where, like, I have all my team meetings on a Monday. I kind of deal with clients and coaching and masterminds and whatever on a Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday I have my own coaching. And then I actually have a finance meeting in the afternoon. And then Friday is my creative day. I play paddle on a Tuesday. I ride, like I'm riding tomorrow morning. So like these things are actually in here to allow, time to be able to do it. I did have all this family time in, but now my son's at boarding school, I need to redo mine because I've got no family to spend any time with. So,
You're your own family.
No, 100%. So, but anyway, I think my point being is that one of my tasks on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week is to actually go and redo this for myself. So I haven't done it for 2026 yet, but it's just a very valuable way of setting yourself up for success.
Can I just ask you, is the template in somewhere in the school?
Yeah. So if you go to some Private Wealth Global, which is the mastermind group, and you go to classroom, and you go to start here, this is the main tab. It's always start here, and under resources. So everything's here. So there's a video for getting things done, the big rocks. So this again is a very valuable video.
Yes, I have. I've watched that. Yeah.
Then the Perfect Week Planner is there, the 60-day challenge, and the One Thing book. So they're all here. So there's the Perfect Week Planner, the 60-day challenge, and the One Thing book.
Okay, cool.
So
awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. All good. Repetition's the mother of skill. I'd love to know your Linux Google thing, because right now I'm at war with Google. So if anyone has if anyone has a friend at Google, please let me know, because this is getting ridiculous. It's like I've never been so like trapped. I have to pay 200 Rand, but I can't pay 200 Rand until they verify my profile. But I can't verify my profile because my storage has run out because I haven't paid 200 Rand. And then if I can't get a Gmail, but they're only communicating with me through Gmail, it's like, what do you want me to do? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever dealt with.
I did exactly the same thing with the iPhone, and so they all to embed together with each other and make it almost near impossible. So this is the open source stuff is much more is less buckled down.
No. Doesn't help though, because I still want to watch YouTube without ads and like whatever. And anyway, it's a disaster. Hopefully it'll get solved. Okay, right. Any other questions or accountability? Any questions from today? What did you guys think of the industrial presentation from Amanda? I was impressed that our head of a big property fund was quite impressed, so that's a good start.
No, it was really good, Scott. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I was impressed as well, although she was talking about a 17.5 IRR, but then on her presentation chart, it wasn't as high as that. Yeah, I mean, it was still high, but it wasn't as high.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, Marge. I haven't even had a chance to properly look at the OM and stuff. I only found out about it on Monday. I actually had another speaker lined up, and then, I chose to kind of go with a deal person versus I had another topic lined up, which we'll do later. So it's pretty new for all of us. Paulo's aiming to have it live on the platform by Friday, or if not by Friday, Monday by the latest.
Okay.
Cool. It was nice to have an investment that's maturing in like a couple of years rather than 5 years or 7 years.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons Paulo and I liked it, was a 2-year option.
Yeah. And it's coming quick as well by the sound of it.
Yeah. No, we've got to have it sorted by the end of the month. So unfortunately, both that one and the German deal are quick in terms of the process. Okay, Tracy, yes, it was detailed. Look, the challenge with the Americans is that well, firstly, whatever they do it professionally. But they also speak a different language. So I don't know if you notice, I try and be a bit of a translator, in terms of, because they can often get quite caught up in their lingo. So I do, but I just said to her, look, no stress. I'm happy to help, in terms of any of the lingo side, etc. But I think for me, Tracy, just to be clear, I did give her, I said to her, take the full 90 minutes and give as much value as possible. And if needs be, we can rewatch the recording a couple of times, versus just a high level overview. Marge, you got a question? I can see some other coming through, but you got your hand up.
Yep, thank you. I'm just wondering, why is there always an exit on these deals? Like, how come you don't leave your money in and just keep on getting dividends?
And do you want the real answer to that?
Yes.
Because sponsors
Why I asked it.
Because sponsors make money when they exit. So the way the deals are generally set up is that they make money after the investors have made money. But if there's no exit ever, then the sponsor will never actually make money. I mean, they'll make some money, but they won't. The real kickers after they've made a proper profit on the back end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's the one reason. And then the second reason is most investors don't like, investing never ending with no exit. So it's different if they're in a property fund or a REIT where they can trade their shares, buy and sell their shares. Then they don't necessarily have to buy and sell the assets. But generally, if an investor is investing, they want to know there's an exit as to when they can get their capital back, if there's no liquidity.
Thank you.
Nick, NOI stands for net operating income. So effectively, and again, you tell me, Ben, if I'm getting this wrong in any way. But I mean, basically, as I understand it, it's what the building is earning minus the expenses. So it's the net income that the tenant is effectively earning. Is that not correct? Is either the tenant or the building? I'm getting myself confused now.
Yeah, it's a building, but you normally, from a landlord, you normally have your rental income. Then you've got your income that you recover from the tenant. So you recover, say, utilities, whatever, and then you minus your expenses, and whatever is left is your net operating income.
Yeah. So it's a how I understood it. Okay, cool, awesome. My Google expert is Thomas Muller. Maybe you can contact him at Thomas. Okay, I will definitely try Dietland. I'm trying absolutely anyone and everyone in terms of trying to solve this problem. No worries, Tracy. Isn't that what an evergreen fund is for? Yeah, so I actually wanted to ask that, Mike. It's interesting. I actually meant to ask her why they call it the evergreen fund, because even that fund, to my understanding, was they buy it, they hold it, she had a time period, and then they exit it. So I didn't really understand where the word evergreen came from. But again, my understanding is that when it's a listed fund or REIT, that's when they don't buy and sell assets, they buy and hold assets because people can trade in and out of the shares. But if it's private, then there's always generally a sale period.
Scott, maybe just to add, sometimes evergreen refers to if a fund is not closing at all. So let's just say there's no exit, so it's a continuation of the fund.
Okay, so it's sort of what they said, because they launched it in 2024 and they keep raising capital for it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
RENOI, if the tenant is paying maintenance expenses, what expenses would there be? No, well, I think Marge, this is the point, is that whether it's a triple net lease or whether it's NOI, the target here is just to know what are you actually getting in your pocket. So you don't want to say, okay, well, I'm getting $1,000, but actually I'm paying out $500 in expenses, because then all that you're basically interested in is what is the net income you're getting. Makes sense. So whenever they quote the NOI, that's the income that we as the tenants or we as the landlords are getting. Okay. Anything else with regards to the industrial thing? Oh, by the way, I can now show you the German deal. I couldn't show you when there was an American in the room. So, okay. So I haven't. I'm just. This is not ready for sharing yet, but I just thought I'd I literally got the email from Garth on Monday. He phoned me on Monday, but I mean, basically, you can see here that you're looking at base case IRR of 15% per annum with a target IRR of 18%. Cash on cash is 9%, and the equity multiple is 1.9, up to target of 2.3. So you can see here it's university town. I don't know anything about it. I'm not sitting here like literally. I haven't even had a chance to look at it properly. In terms of the overall thing and the value creation. So my understanding is that this is a value add. So they're buying it, they're leasing up the property. So it's a value add property. The point is relatively low risk actions or positions, nothing that requires extreme property development or big bets in the market, and all active value levers mentioned above will be seen by the Encore team. So that's Peter Katz and them. Okay, so I can share this. Well, we're trying to get it up on the platform as well. But I just thought I'd let you know what's coming down the pipe as well. So attractive entry price, strong property features, returns from low risk value add opportunities, leasing and lease extensions, minor renovations, and so on, rather than development risk, and managed financial risk, low gearing. Make sense? Yes? God told me not to share that. So none of you saw that from me. No, that's we just have to finalize the numbers, but at least you know what's sort of coming. Okay. So what I want to do, if there's no questions then, is I wanted to share with you sort of my...
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So just on, because you're talking about the cash on the cash and whatever. So I went into Carryfit last year. So I sort of checked in with Anthony about when the cash on cash payment was due, right? And he said, well, we may not pay it. It depends, if it's going to affect the cash flow, we may not pay the amount. But it's just a bit sort of, I'm like a blue personality. So if it says cash on cash 8, I expect it to be cash on cash 8, as on your website. So I was a bit surprised that it says that we may not pay it. Maybe it's in the detail somewhere, but the overview clearly says like a certain percentage.
Yeah, so I think, Mike, the Carryfit one's slightly different because it's a private equity deal. And it is in the documentation, and it was explained that it would be paid annually as long as the company was able to do it. Does that make sense? Whereas on a German deal or an industrial deal, it's very different because the rental income is coming from the tenants in terms of the process. So that, from a risk profiling perspective, it is different between a property deal and a private equity deal. Generally, private equity actually doesn't have any income in terms of the process, because it's a value creation or growth opportunity, if that makes sense. So in the Carryfit situation, I think the number was 4.5%, and it was due to be paid annually. It is a good question. I don't know actually when that annually was. I assumed it would be coming up now in this first quarter, but I'd need to understand where they're at actually. But it's in terms of the general kind of property deals and obviously the debt deals, anything where there's secured financing, then that cash on cash, that is the number that one can expect.
Okay.
Does that make
It's
sense?
a bit, I mean, it's just, I like it, when you see the clear overview and it says cash on cash, 4%, I don't know whether it shouldn't be saying that. I don't know.
No, look, I hear you.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a challenge for us, obviously, on the front end of the platform, because it's kind of a template, so you just fill it in. But we do tend to put the detail, in the description and in the documents, etc., so that it is there. And we definitely would have spoken about it when we went through the webinar and explaining the deal, etc. But I hear you loud and clear. It is a challenge because obviously there's nuances to some deals. Which is actually why, like, things like that industrial deal, I like it because it's clean, it's easy, it's 2 years. It's fairly easy to understand.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so what I was saying is that what I wanted to do was to just share with you. So last year in December we did that 10x principle, and if you remember, and I want to show you a couple of things here. So if you remember, I did this presentation for you where I kind of took the whole principles of the 10x, and there were 10 major principles to execute upon with one bonus. And the very first principle was 10x requires a new identity, not more effort. 2x is a behavioral change, 10x is an identity change. To 10x, you must stop asking, how do I improve what I'm doing? And start asking, what do I need to become to operate at a fundamentally higher level? So what I basically decided was that a couple of things. Firstly, Paulo Mahoney said to me, which I'd never heard before, but he said when he gets a book, and if it's a really good book, he reads it over and over again until he implements. And I thought that's really interesting because I'm famous. I know none of you are guilty of this. It's only me, of reading books and not implementing. Anyone else guilty of that crime? So I'm just taking my background off so you can see the book properly. So I thought, well, I've never done it before. So I was like, okay. So anyway, so I started listening to the book again on Monday when I started riding my, I was riding my bike and, it was time for a new book. And then I started thinking to myself, okay, and I've been thinking about it all holiday, particularly with the 12K club, where I'm coaching people one-to-one. Why don't we actually create a framework to be able to implement every month, take one of those 10 skills and there's an 11th one that's a bonus. So it's literally a fluke. But if you start in January, by November, you would have implemented all 11 of the major principles of the 10X book. And then what was interesting is that yesterday, Archie, I had a one-to-one session with Archie. I don't know if Archie's here. And she was sort of saying, because she's probably done more personal development than anyone I've ever met. I've done a lot, but Archie beats me by a long way. And she was reminding me of John DeMartini and the values and how you have to have your values aligned. And I thought, wow, that's really, really powerful. So what I did, which I wanted to share with you all, was that I went and I said, right, so there's a couple of things that are important. I don't know if any of you have done John DeMartini or values or anything. I actually did a thing with Roger Hamilton years ago where I kind of, you put down who you are and what your values are. It's called the team charter. Anyway, so I've kind of given it quite a lot of thought over the years in terms of my values. But what was so interesting is that the prompt that I gave ChatGPT was, so let me just go. So again, this is the clone. So I'm going to hopefully teach you all how to create a clone. Just by the way, if you haven't know how to do it, you create a clone. I've got my business clone, my personal clone, my writing clone, and it's all in here. There's a huge amount of detail about me. So just to be clear, this might be a little bit more difficult for other people because I've uploaded everything for the last 2 years. Every psychology session, every coaching session, everything. My book, all my work, everything is in here. It knows everything about me. So what I did is I went along and I said, right, I want to, create the identity for, for what we're doing. And I also want to align it with my values. And so basically this was my prompt. So help me with John DeMartini. I'd like to review his values factor. I'd like you to determine what are my top 10 values. I'm going to include a screenshot of what I originally would have put down as my top 10 values. And I'd like to implement or write for me a game plan as to how I can embody those values in 2026. I want to take into account a 10x shift using the 10x principles and have an identity shift. But I want that identity shift aligned with my values to ensure congruency and alignment. If there's anything else that you think you should add, please do to ensure that I've set myself up in alignment with my values and my identity to achieve 10x results in 2026. Firstly, what do you think of the post? Are you starting to understand? I don't know how much you guys use ChatGPT, but can you start to see how you prompt? Okay, so there's 3 parts to this. So it then went and created like an entire values for me around what it would be, what are my top 10 values. Just by the way, this is obviously different for each person, but it's really interesting, like seeing, what your top 10 values are based on everything that it knows about you. Then it's like, right, what's the 10x shift that you actually need? So, my old identity, I carry too much personally, step into fixed misalignment, over-tolerate friction, operates between visionary and operator, and trust and intent over evidence. So the new 10x, I design ecosystems, I don't carry them, I lead through clarity, not rescue, I only do the work that multiplies, I choose alignment over loyalty, and I protect my energy as a strategic asset. This identity is values aligned, not ego driven. And then in terms of, and this is the part I enjoyed the most, so in terms of 2026 values embodiment game plan, practical and enforceable, this is where most people fail. Values without behavior are fantasies. So value 1, purpose and freedom. So the rule is, if it doesn't scale impact or increase freedom, it's a no. Behaviors, only accept meetings that create leverage, create revenue, create alignment. Design Wealth University and Wealth Migrate to operate without you daily. Build one platform, one message, and one ecosystem. 70% of your work is spent in visionary, revenue, or relationship roles. And I kind of think you get the point. So you can kind of go through, like it's got a whole identity shift in terms of that process. So what I've basically done, and the gift I kind of wanted to give you, was I created 2 things. Firstly, if you haven't done your values and you don't know how to do them, then I created a document here which follows John DeMartini's process, where you can go and do the work. So like, right, what is my life evidence? Like, how do I actually, like this is determining your values, basically. So there's a whole bunch of questions here to determine what is actually important to you. So this is a process to help you get clear on your values. So either, in my case, ChatGPT knows me well enough to give me my top 10 values. But if it doesn't know you, then you'd probably have to do this exercise and get clear on what your top 10 values are. So, but it's really important, because if you understand, success is equal to alignment. So if your values are aligned with your identity and aligned with your behavior, then it's basically guaranteed you're going to get your results. So anyway, so there's this document here if you want to go and work out your values. I will share my document, although remembering I'm just sharing it with you so that it's an example. By the way, with the likes of ChatGPT, I'll share my example, and you could literally say, use this example from someone else and create the same working document for me. But again, I don't know how much you've programmed your ChatGPT and how much it actually knows you. But anyway, it'd still be worth giving it a go. I'm happy to give you my prompt as well if you want to copy my prompt. And then the last 2 things that I think are relevant is that I then went and I said, right, if I was going to create a rhythm over the next 12 months to implement, how could we implement the 10x coaching stuff over a 12-month period? So we basically, when I say we, me and ChatGPT, created a 12-month program that creates a clear path to upgrade identity, remove complexity, install systems, and build a global partner leveraged wealth strategy. The direction is solid: a quarterly structure, monthly identity resets, portfolio refinements, and family alignment. However, the real shift doesn't come from frameworks alone. It comes from consistent execution, emotional discipline, and replacing 2x habits with 10x behaviors. The brutal truth: if a client only consumes the content but doesn't implement the monthly actions, their results won't change. So this is why the 12K Club is so important, because on a one-to-one basis, on a monthly basis, it's actually about implementing this. So I can give you all the theory, but it's actually about doing it. The 10X requires subtraction, structure, and accountability, not more information. When clients follow the model, they're doing identity work in Q1, leverage in Q2, execution environment in Q3, and simplicity in Q4. They build the same architecture used by the top 1% global investors. But the breakthrough happens only when we stop relying on willpower and start relying on the system. Monthly coaching, quarterly financial alignment, family integration, and behavior tracking. Without this discipline cadence, old patterns resurface. With it, clients shift permanently into a higher level of clarity, confidence, and global wealth execution. So what are we trying to do? Each quarter has a theme, each month has a clear objective, and everything ties back to the 10X principles. So if you look at Q1, it's all about identity and subtraction. So principles 1 to 4. The theme: who you're becoming and what are you releasing. The quarter resets the foundation. So the work for this month is the identity upgrade, principle number 1. So the very first thing is to do the identity diagnostic. Now, all of you should have the identity diagnostic because I gave it to you last year. So if you go here and you go to monthly recordings and you go to the 10X, there's the workbook. And in the workbook, I gave you the diagnostic. So there's the 10X identity diagnostic. So it's not a big document to do. It's literally a page and a half. I'm going to do this for myself on Friday. But it's basically, what is your 2X identity? What is the 2025 version of me? These are the habits, beliefs, behaviors, and patterns that kept me in incremental growth. What habits kept me operating at a 2X level? What fears or doubts limited my decisions in 2025? What emotional patterns slowed my momentum? Hesitation, overwhelm, perfectionism, self-doubt. What did I tolerate in 2025 that I can no longer tolerate in 2026? So someone's just asking where you can find it. So again, you go to, so it's in Private Wealth Global, you go to Classroom, you go to monthly recordings. So the recordings are always up here from every session. And the last session in December was the 10X. So there's the 10X. You can watch the recording, which I would strongly recommend you do. And then there's the workbook. So you've got the workbook, the principles, the presentation, and there's even a case study between a 2X investor and a 10X investor. But anyway, I was clicking on the workbook. Then section B is the 10X identity, the 2026 version of me. This version of me operates at a fundamentally higher level. Who do I need to become to 10X in 2026? So identity characteristics, emotional states, decision patterns. What are the top 3 beliefs my 10X self holds as a truth? How does my 10X identity make decisions? Fast, decisive, data-backed, partner leverage, strategic. What support structure does my 10X identity require? Monthly strategic coaching, quarterly financial reviews, family and legacy alignment as an example. And then finally, identity declaration. My 2026 identity statement. Write one powerful paragraph describing the investor, leader, and human you're becoming. So if you look back here to the task, that's your identity. So you need to do that. Then you need to do your personal vision and values mapping, which is exactly what I did. So that's that. Your investor archetype you've already got because you've got your wealth EQ, so it knows exactly who you are. And then finally, your identity declaration is the final part of that document there. So can you see now that what I was doing wrong was up until this year, was I've been helping people. So I've been helping everyone get clear on their outcomes. So we sit down and we say, right, what's your word for the year? What's your top 3 outcomes? What's your top 3 priorities? What's your top 3 measures? So each and every one of you have sat with me personally, and we've literally done this, in the very first session of the mastermind. And then ideally every year, you just sit and review it. It doesn't take long. Some people like myself, I didn't change a single word across my top 3 outcomes or top 3 priorities because they're bigger than 1 year. They're like an ongoing project for me. My measures I did update. So my measures I changed, but my outcomes are my priorities. Now, I've had a couple of one-to-one coaching sessions where people have completely changed their outcome. They're like, right, that one doesn't suit me anymore. I want a new one. There's no problem with that. It's just that you want to make sure that this is your top of the mountain. And if I come back to, sorry, I'm bouncing around here, but if I go back to the presentation, the mastermind presentation, it's this slide here that I'm referring to. Is it good now? This one. So your outcome, your priority, and your measures for the year is your overall like long-term plan. And then your midterm plans are, is your monthly stuff. Now, why is this really important? Well, because what I realized, and I only realized this when I read the 10X book, was I've consistently gone for 10X goals, but with a 2X identity. So I was behaving with a 2X mindset and a 2X identity, and I probably wasn't aligned with my values, which means my behavior wasn't completely aligned, which means I'm not going to achieve my goals. Are you with me? Does that make sense? And so only when I read this book was I was like, right, the very first thing I got to do is shift my identity. And so my wish for all of you is that each and every one of you have come here to get results. That's the primary reason the majority of us are here. And so when I understood the book, I was like, okay, hang on, I've got to take this to a new level. And that's why I love the way this document's put together, because if you think about it, your values really should be who you are for the rest of your life. Like it's, what are your important values? Then what identity do you need? And then what behavior do you need? and that's ultimately going to tie into your results. Now, if you look at it from a reverse engineering perspective, you've got your outcomes, which is kind of your results. It's what you want to achieve. And then you, on the other side of the fence, you've got who do you have to be to make that a reality. So that's where the four things came in. And so what I've been doing with the one-to-one people, and I don't want to share anyone's personal stuff here. So if I just take an example, what we do when we do the one-to-one stuff is that it's the same process. We just do it in more detail. So where we go like each one of the three outcomes. So what we would do is we would review the outcome, the measure, and the priority. And then every month we get focused, like, right, what is the focus for the month with regards to that outcome? What are the goals? What are the priorities? What are the metrics for measure? Then the same thing for the next one, and then the same one for the final one. So why I'm showing you this process is that my wish for all of you is that you do what I've already done for myself. I'm not finished yet. I've had a bit of a slow start to the year, taking my son to boarding school and whatever. But ultimately there's four parts to this. The first part is kind of get clear on your values. And if you don't know, like if you can't kind of do the review, you can do this values review. Okay, so you can go and get clear on your values. The second part is that ideally, once you got your values, you can start tying it to your identity. And that's, you can do this plus this identity document that I've shared with you, this identity diagnostic. So you can basically, and ideally, once you got your values and your identity, you want to tie the two together, which is really what I've done, what I've done here. And it kind of tells me who I need to be to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. Now, just by the way, my ChatGPT already knows my goals. So these goals here are all in ChatGPT already. So I'm a little bit ahead of the game compared to most people. I understand that, but like mine are all programmed into that clone. So if you open up this clone and you go to my business DNA, you'll see my goals are actually in here. How do I open it now? I'm not quite sure how to do it. It's a text file. Okay, can you remember? How do I open an MD file again? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll have to go and look at my notes. But anyway, it's in there. It's in my business thing. It's got all my business goals for the year already. So again, let me just try and summarize this because I know I'm sharing a lot of stuff here. Okay, so the process. Number one, get clear on your values. Two, do the identity, the hell do we call it again? Let me just get the name right. So identity diagnostic. But just quickly, does this make sense so far? Do me a favor if I've confused the hell out of you or whether this is actually making sense. So type in the chat box or let me know if it's making sense to you. But can you see how powerful it'll be if you've got your values aligned with your identity and your values, your identity, and your behavior all aligned to help you achieve your outcomes, and you got clear on your outcomes, your priorities, and your measures? Can you see how this would work? So I'll give you the tools, the value stuff tools, and you've already got the identity diagnostic. What I'll do is I'll share it I'll make it easy for you. I'll put it into the diversification WhatsApp group. And for those of you who kind of want to join me on my journey to actually implement these on a monthly basis and kind of be part of a group of people that are doing it and to hold each other to account, then obviously just let me know, and that'll be a separate thing in terms of, that's what we're doing, when I do the one-to-one coaching at the 12K. But I'd love to know if there's any questions to this, in terms of if there's anything that's not making sense. I know it's quite a lot of stuff, but what's so interesting is it's such a change from where I used to be. So if I show you here quickly, and I've shown you this lots of times before, but if I go, like in the old days, I'd go and spend, a whole day building out my goals, and I'd have all these spreadsheets and goals, and I had it across all the different areas, and I'd go and build out all my financial stuff. So I'd have my SMART goals for the year, which would have my daily plan, my weekly plan, my monthly, my, everything I'm sharing with you, my monthly analysis. I'd have my budgets to actuals, my vocational, mental, family, literally this was the level of detail I used to go to with everything. And I found that I did a lot of this stuff, but I never really actually checked it again. So I had wheels of life and literally everything that I was supposed to check in every 49 days. And I never really did it. I kind of did it once properly annually. And that's why I've tried to simplify things completely. But I will say that this blew me away a little bit. This document here that I created last night blew me away a little bit, because this, getting clear on kind of what my values are and what I should be doing. And, this for me is like music to my ears. If I didn't have to bloody deal with operations and management and the stuff that I flipping hate, it would be amazing. So, and you can see all the stuff that I should be doing. So it's not just one thing. You can go, I have to share this with people, but each one of my values, there's a behavior that I need to implement to achieve or basically to be in congruence, but also to achieve the 10x thinking. So I don't know about you guys, but does this excite you? I don't know. This flipping blows my mind. And then also just weekly stuff to ask, to check in. You don't need new values. You need courage to live the ones you already have without compromise. When your values, identity, and behavior are aligned, 10x stops being inevitable. It becomes inevitable. Don't you think that's pretty cool? I want to put that in the chat for everyone. So anyway, that's my wish for all of you. I thought I'd just share with you tonight at the fireside, what I'm doing and what I'm doing with the one-to-one, people, and it's my invitation for you to do the same. I hope you can start to see now, and for those of you, sure, I can't overemphasize the whole AI thing. I know Helga's here. Him and I built our clones. What do we call them? Not clones. What are they called? Just my brain's tired. What are they called again?
Personal clone.
Clone. That's a personal clones. We built our clones last year in November, and Helga very kindly told me about it, so I'm super grateful for that. But the sooner you start actually programming AI with your information, the sooner it can start working to your benefit. So one of the reasons that I was able to produce that document last night, that whole little process there took me not even 20 minutes. But the point is that I'd already programmed it for 2 years. So if someone was starting from scratch, I doubt it would be able to be nearly as effective, if that makes sense. But my wish for all of you is that if you wait another 6 months, then you're 6 months further behind. Does that make sense? Who would like a ChatGPT course quickly?
One more. Yeah.
Well, no one else is asking questions, so I might as well just keep. Hilda's overwhelmed. Don't worry, Hilda. I love my tech stuff, so I apologize if I overwhelm you. But okay, so let me just share some stuff with you quickly. Okay, so we're not going to try and build a clone tonight because that's too difficult. Okay, but if you go into ChatGPT, okay, let me teach you some simple principles here. And if anyone else wants to jump in and teach me something, I'm very, very open to yours. Okay. So the very first thing is you go into ChatGPT. I've got the paid for version, but you don't have to have the paid for version. I'm not sure how much detail to go into. Okay, I'm going to keep this. I haven't thought this through. So, the first thing is you just go to a new chat and you can open up a chat. Okay. And that's like a Google prompt. But what you really want to start doing is creating projects. And what a project does is it remembers everything within that project. So, you know, if it's like for you guys, I have a project for the mastermind. Okay, so you can see there's a project for the mastermind. You've got the 10x experience, recreating like all the stuff, Calio summaries, everything's here. So it remembers everything. I've got a project for my team members. I've got a project for Wealth Migrate. I've got a project for personal. So my son, Joy, etc. My coach. You know, I've got my clone. So what you want to do is you want to create, and by the way, if you create a chat, so let's just say here, I don't know, I just want to give this as an example of something that's blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can go there, you create chat, and then once you've got that, you can actually go down here and you can add it to a project. Okay, so you can go down and you go move to project, and then you can basically put it into any of your projects. Okay, now you can see all my projects there, but ideally you want to be able to keep stuff in projects. Now, if it's not related, then don't put it in your project. Like, so you can see my chats down the bottom here that aren't necessarily related, you know, like to a big project or whatever. So then you just leave it there. But firstly, are you understanding the difference between a new chat and a project? That took me a little bit of time to understand. Like, there's huge benefit in a project because then that kind of keeps all the information in one place. I don't iPhone. Who has access to your Chat GPT clone? To my knowledge, obviously ChatGPT does, but like no one else does unless I share it with people. There's a whole bunch of functionalities, and I'm not going to go into that level of detail tonight around security, but you can go down here and where's my settings gone? You can go to settings and you can actually go down to security and you can switch stuff off and where's it gone now? I don't know, it's one of these ones. Personalization, no, data controls. Yeah, so yeah, you can manage like what people see and everything else. So you can play around with your settings in terms of, I've never hidden anything. I had my first public website in 1999. Where I put up all my holiday pictures. Like, I know everyone's like does it nowadays on Facebook, but I did it before Facebook, and everyone thought I was absolutely mad. So I've never had any problems with, you know, I don't really care about that stuff. So I see far more value in being able to use it properly by giving it all the information than worrying about who. But that's just me. I know I'm different to other people. So okay, so what else would be relevant in terms of keeping it fairly easy? The one thing that I like the most is look how cool this is. So has anyone got a question about anything? Like, let's take a question on, I don't know. Let's do the one that we just had right now. So let's do net operating income. So one of the things I really enjoy is, do you see this little dictate thing here? You don't even have to write anymore, and it's pretty good at recognizing your voice. So give me an article on the net operating income, and please explain the difference between, as an investor, what is the difference between net operating income, triple net lease, and why is it important to me as an investor in terms of the money that I get back in my pocket? You literally go like that, and you've got your prompt, and you go boom, and it's done. So what I find so interesting with prompts is that you just, and by the way, if you want to learn how to do this, Judy gave us that incredible book called The AI-Driven Leader, which has really, really helped me figure out how to be far better at putting prompts together. But I mean, you can basically see here, it then gives you the whole sort of, you know, the whole breakdown of what you're looking for. So I tend to just talk to it because I talk much easier than I write in terms of all the information. And I'll be frank with you, like, you don't actually have to go into too much more detail. Like, if you want to share this, like this net operating income, I can share that with you. There's a whole lot of much more complicated stuff here where you can go in and go into it. But I'm like, for the purposes of today, I don't think it's necessary. And then what Helga got me to do with him was where we built this whole clone thing. But that's what we're going to do this year. I'm going to teach you how to build a clone, but I'm going to do it in the wealth space. So we're going to put in our wealth Wealth EQ, so our Enneagram and wealth. We're going to put in all our modeling from the family office. We're going to put in everything. So this is why there's values and this identity and everything. You can hopefully see where my brain's already going. But we're going to put this all in. But if you look down here to my clone, I mean, I've shared this with you before, but just to show you, now that it's all here, like there's my values identity shift. Here's my 25 lessons. So that was, you know, every year that was quite hard to come up with, whereas last year it wasn't. My strategy intensive. So how do I design my strategy? Generating prompts. How cool is this? So we got taught to generate our own prompts for literally like, but these are personalized for prompts. So if you, like for Scott Pickens specifically, how can I optimize revenue funnels? And then it's got like a whole prompt on how to do it. Architect value ladders, transform content assets, refine investor communications, engineer weekly cadences, diagnose investment decisions, design mastermind experiences. I've used that one a couple of times. I used that for the 10X experience, by the way. Resolve leadership conflicts, craft relationship messages, integrate personal insights. Like, I don't know if this is interesting for everyone else. Book recommendations. This is really interesting based on my goals. So it tells me what books I should be reading, which I found really interesting. I'd never even heard, so I've read The 100-Year Life, but yeah, just really, really interesting in terms of the different books that I should be reading. Movie recommendations as well, which is quite cool. What you need to hear, this was really interesting. So this is like, this thing gave me like a proper bloody drilling on what I need to hear and what I need to stop doing. You're operating at 70% of your true power because you're still negotiating with your old wounds instead of stepping into the man, leader, and creator you already know you can be. You're not lacking vision. You're not lacking strategy. You're not lacking opportunity. You're lacking full courage. You're lacking full courageous commitment to your next identity. By the way, this was like in November, so this whole identity thing is new. You've done the work. You've learned the lessons. You had the mirrors. You know the patterns. But right now, you're still keeping one foot in the old world. The world where you soften yourself to conflict, you hold back to keep peace, you delay decisions, avoiding repeating past pain, you over-explain instead of standing firm, and you wait for permission instead of declaring direction. The next level of your life, wealth, and leadership love requires you to stop hesitating and step into your full inner authority unapologetically. This isn't about pushing harder, it's about owning who you already are. A man with a mission, a creator building a global legacy, a father modeling courage, a leader of leaders, a man capable of extraordinary love. Anyway, I don't need to read it all. And then it's like the movies that'll help you. It's pretty, don't you? I don't know about you guys. I find this flipping incredible. And then the last one that I want to show you was, well, firstly, there's a 90-day life advice. Okay, like gives you a whole 90-day plan and like what you should be doing, when you should be doing it and everything else. And the last thing which I thought was really interesting is this last one here, which is the gap analysis and the action. So it looks at like where you are and like what are your gaps at the moment and what should you be doing in terms of like your focus. So I just kind of ask everyone, like if you had this kind of tool in your pocket, wouldn't it be so much easier to make decisions, strategy and everything in between? It's just me that gets excited. Okay, cool. I'll go to bed then. I'll go play with ChatGPT. It's much more fun than talking to you guys. No, I'm joking. But yeah, what I mean,
that's pretty cool.
What like you know, hopefully now when you see what I've shared with you, you can see the power of where this can go. But the key to all of this is you have to be able to upload like so the whole thing with AI is that the single most important thing that AI does is pattern recognition. And so the more data you give it, the easier it is to spot the patterns. And the more it can spot the patterns, the more it can help you. Does that make sense? So the sooner you start uploading the data, the sooner you're going to be able to do it. So some people turn to me and they go, but Scott, it takes time. It does. Every single time I have a psychology session, I have to upload it. Every single time I have a coaching session, I have to upload it. Every single time my potential girlfriend messages me, I have to screenshot it and upload it so that you've got the patterns. You think I'm joking. Anyway, but like I think like you know it's so I'm blown away by it. And I think the part of once you've done some of the hard work, like I've already done, and my wish for all of you is that you do the work. Then when you want to go and do that identity document, like I showed you, which I think is incredible, what it created, but it did it. I mean, the whole little thing. I mean, give Archie credit where it's due. If it wasn't for Archie, I wouldn't have thought of the values thing. But when she mentioned, I was like, wow, that's so valuable. The marrying values and identity, and I mean, you literally saw. I did one post, one prompt, and it came up with the entire thing. I mean, there's the prompt, boom, there. So yeah, I don't know if that helps. Is there anything else? Any other? I know there's lots of other ChatGPT experts here. Is there anything else that's simple that I could share? I'm very purposely not wanting to overwhelm people. What is, Jane, what did you say? Is she not Chatter GPT? What does that mean? Oh, Marge, I've overwhelmed you. Sorry.
Your girlfriend, Chatter
No,
GPT.
don't even joke. Myself and who was I talking to? I was talking to someone. We were having a laugh the other day. I was like, crosses. If you got a robot, it'd just be so much easier than all this bloody human shit. Overwhelmed, really. Yeah, look, Ilda, I think I appreciate that. I'm trying. So when we do the course with Jaco, obviously I'll think it through a lot more and plan it. And I know that when Helga and I did it with Tony Robbins, they had quite a, I thought it was done really well in terms of how it was structured and everything else. I don't know about you, Helga, but I was quite blown away by how little people knew. It was like we would get stuck for like an hour where someone didn't know how to copy and paste. And I was like, this is going to kill me. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but yeah, I don't know, Helga, you were on the course as well. What was your experience?
My experience, because compared to your, I believe, is that really not a beginner in this area, and you have more experience. But the layout of this course, I could easily catch up over the days between the different seminars, and I can create my clone, not at the same time like probably you did when we had the session live. But I could catch up with it. So I have used it a lot, and it was an incredible course, and I still use it. Yeah. A lot of it. Scott, can I comment not on the ChatGPT thing?
Helga, just before we go there, I just want to make one comment to what you said. What I liked about that course as well was it was over 6 weeks. And I think what Helga is referring to is you could watch the video, but you could also go back and watch it like 3 times if you had to. So rather than trying to do it all in one weekend, which literally would have overwhelmed people beyond whatever, actually doing it over 6 weeks really worked. So even when we do our thing, I want to do this. I thought that really worked because it allowed people time to catch up. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, back to you, Helga.
Yeah, you talk a lot about the values and identity with John DeMartini, and just for my experience, because I have done small course with him as well, and to find your value according to how he teaches, because it actually ends up, and you start to compare it in different important areas in your life, and most of us have the same areas in health and finance and things like that. And then you start to resonate to yourself, okay, what value do I have at the top of health, at the top of finance, at the top of work or relations? And you have to, he always triggers you, okay, write 5 things, okay, 5 more, up to 100 values in that area. And then you start to connect them together, put a ring on that, who ties together. And then you end up, okay, if you value your health so much, but you're not doing this, so then you see it's disconnected. So that's the tip for you if you start to try to find your values, who are the top values. So I've done that exercise a little bit.
Yeah, no, look, I think I find it fascinating. The only thing I would sort of say to that is, again, the lesson I've learned as I got a bit older is less is more. So I've always used to have, you've seen those spreadsheets where it's like so much stuff, and whereas if you keep it simple, it's actually got far more chance of being achieved, even down to values. And even 10 values, like, I don't know, like you could even have your top 3 type thing, you know what I mean, in terms of the process. So yeah, no, but I hear you loud and clear. I think it's important. Just by the way, how many other people have done some sort of values exercise, like in terms of, like either John DiMartini or something else? Derek, you got put your hand up. So just by the way, if you've done something, I think, who was I speaking with earlier today? Paula had done something earlier with some other group. It doesn't have to be John DiMartini. Safina's done stuff. You see, what's nice is if you've done stuff in the past, like I did mine with Roger Hamilton back in, who knows when, I think it was 2015. At least it's something to start with. Dietland, same for you, quite a long time ago. It's something to start with, so it's, again, back to like using ChatGPT, it at least gives it a framework. The other thing that's really useful, sorry, I just want to share something with you quickly here. So I literally, where's it gone now? Oh, just 2 seconds. Where am I? Oh, there. So what I wanted to share with you, something else that I found very useful is if you can get a document that already exists, that's another way that I do it. So here's the event from last night. So there's the transcription with Garth and Anthony. And then here's a document that I did. So let me just show you here. So when I went to the Investor Summit last year, so what's very useful is go and create yourself a document and or get a document from someone else, but create the template that you want. Okay, so as an example, here's my template from when I was at the Investor Summit. So it's got a synopsis up front, it's got the key takeaways, it's got the action point for investors, kind of got the full summary, and then it's got the final thought. Okay, you with me so far? So once you've kind of got a template, so you can then go and you can see here. So there's the transcription with Garth and Anthony from last night. Here's the template. Okay, I'd like you to take the transcription from Garth and Anthony, and I'd like you to use it in the same format as Navigating the Squeeze. And yeah, I want you to create a valuable document, follow the same format that starts off with a synopsis. I'd like some of the key quotes that they mentioned to come out. Obviously, the key items for investors. Basically, create a world-class document that's going to add a lot of value to people who don't have time to listen to the entire recording. And then basically it creates the entire document. But you see how it's got a template, like can you see how it makes your life easy? Yeah. If you don't give it a template, it'll just kind of give it to you in fairly rubbish. And what I do is I take that, I literally copy and paste it, put it onto the Word doc, format it on the Word doc, and boom, you got your white paper. So you're all about to get your white paper from last night. I literally finished it 2 minutes before 8 o'clock. I don't know if like I might be telling you guys how to suck eggs. Like maybe everyone knows how to do this already. I have no idea. But there's a just so that you know, there's a piece of software that I use called Descript. So you take the video, you upload it. You can do it in YouTube as well if you want to. And you take the video, upload it, boom, whack out the transcription, then upload the transcription into ChatGPT like I just showed you, and then give it a template, and boom, it's done. Read through it, make sure there's no obvious mistakes, and next thing you got your white paper. The one thing about a fireside chat is it's not supposed to be one directional. Like I'm going to shut up now. Someone else has to say something.
When you built your AI clone, Scott, did you use only ChatGPT?
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons when Helga told me about the course that I actually went with it, because you kind of have to pick your horse. And I don't know why, but I picked ChatGPT, a couple of years ago, and I programmed it. Look, you can. What was quite interesting, which I learned from that course as well, is if you go back to my clone, I can take this file, which has a fancy name, and I can't even remember what it's called, but it's this file here. It's an MD file. I can take this file, and if I wanted to suddenly go to I can't even remember them, but the Google one or the whatever, I can literally take these and upload them as well into it. So, but yeah, they chose ChatGPT because they said it was more widely used by most people. Obviously, different people have different opinions on which one's better or worse. Like, I don't know. I've programmed this one with everything, so I'm kind of that kind of got me hook line. It's a bit like Standard Bank opened a bank account for me when I was 13, and I'm still banking with Standard Bank. I bet you I'm going to be with ChatGPT for the rest of my life, like, because I'm just gonna they got me. You know what I mean? Like, just by the way, here's another little trick. In terms of pictures, ChatGPT is not as good as so if you look here quickly, let's just look for Jonty. So it's my son's birthday coming up, and I created an invite for his birthday party. So you've got ChatGPT, but you've also got Gemini, and Gemini tends to do better pictures. So I created in Word originally, and then it's sort of like it just generally creates better images and stuff. So I tend to use Gemini for images and ChatGPT for like written stuff.
Cool.
That's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Scott?
Yes.
Scott?
Hello, Alan.
I think if I could just throw this into this evening's meeting. The beginning of the year, the purpose of me joining your company is to increase my wealth, to make sure that my portfolio increases, etc. Nobody has put on here, or ChatGPT as well, this is what you need to do for the next 12 months. Or how do you do your portfolio for the next 12 months? How do we go about it? And then monitor it every month. All the stuff that we've had for the last, I've been on it for since you've got back. I mean, it's very good. The stuff yesterday, reports back. But if we're not missing the main point is that your wealth needs to grow. How do I get ChatGPT to help me get it to grow? I don't want to know about my character. It'll tell me I'm a mess anyway. And I think we're missing the point somewhere along the line. And I don't pick up anything tonight, and I'll just be quiet, listening, enjoying the meeting. Because, yeah, it's interesting, but there's nothing about growing your wealth during the year, what we're going to face, and then obviously reviewing it. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
So the way I'd answer that, Alan, I mean, that's why we tried to start last night with Garth and Anthony. So the macro view, what do we need to know for the year? What are the major trends, etc. I know you were there. So, and that's what I've created in terms of the white paper. The next step, so that's the kind of the macro that we're talking to everyone. Obviously, then there's the detail where you sit down and you've got your own personalized plan, your own asset income model, where they actually help you build the portfolio. And then it's about the execution. And then it is very much in terms of, on a quarterly basis, checking in as to where you are in terms of budgets to actuals along that process. So, I mean, that is all in place already. Can
I comment one thing there?
Yeah.
They're excellent, obviously, as a carriers know what they're doing, etc. But no one will, let's take them. Let's use one thing. We'll say to you, at the end of the day, guys, this is what I think is going to happen. You should be going out to buy some gold. You should be going to buy some silver. These are things that we believe, or I understand it can all, we'll never do anything if we live on the basis. It can all collapse tomorrow in A, B, C, D. But there's no leadership, if I can use that word perhaps, to say, please go and buy some gold, please go and buy some silver, please go and buy some copper or something. I'm just using those three things, which, I mean, no one is, and I'll try and finish it, Colin. I think nobody in my investment life has said to go and buy gold. So what did I do? I watched, I listened, I read, listened to CNN, whatever. I thought, no, bugger this. I'm going to take a bit of bucks of mine and I'm going to go and buy gold. Well, I bought it at $2,500. I don't have to tell you today, it's 4,685. Now, if you take me, I'm just a monkey at this. You know me. I've got to have somebody to help me to get Migrate. But there, a guy goes and he listens to the market, whatever goes, and I go and buy some gold, and me, I've doubled my money, and no one has said, go and buy some gold.
So, I did. In June, I could literally give you the white paper when I came back from the investor side.
Yes, okay, well, you start, but I'm saying, show me what Calio. I'm not mocking anybody, but I'm trying to running like I've had to do and produce results. There's nothing tangible. I don't know if that's the right word to say. This, guys, this is what we need to do this year differently. You need to go and buy this. They sit with everybody once a month, and how you can sell whatever. I find that lacking. I think because they're scared you're going to lose money, and then they held accountable for it or whatever. But I think you got to. The question I'm asking you: am I correct or am I wrong?
Well, I think the point being, Alan, on these joint events, like now, it's overall. I would like to think not generic, but in general, like, because you can't get specific. Like what is good advice for you is different advice for Derek. I'm just picking on two people, okay. But then when you've signed with Calio and they're your official partner, then they do give you that direct one-to-one advice. That's exactly what they do.
Well, let me just, I disagree with you, because what's good for me, if it's going to make me money, it's good for Derek. That's what we are here all about, sitting, learning, whatever, is how to increase your money and to become wealthier. So I don't agree. What's good for me is good for Derek. It's good for everybody sitting around that table here tonight listening to you. Well, and I think that's the factor that's missing out of investing.
Well, I think within context, because different people have, some people are, like, as an example, say very property heavy and they need more stock market exposure. Others are very stock market heavy and need more property exposure, or alternatives, or maybe they got all their money in crypto and they need an alternative. So it comes down to portfolio construction. Different people are at different ages.
But I don't argue that.
Yeah.
If I haven't got any property, and you saying to me, buy a place in New York, there it's different than buying bloody London property flats and whatever. That's something I must consider and go and do. So it doesn't matter whether it's property, gold, or whatever it is. I'm looking for the leadership that people know, which investors that we're with should know how to get you to think differently out of the box, because they're working with it all day, how to go and buy.
Well, I think, that's the intention. I mean, we, obviously,
but it doesn't come out. None of it comes out of it. And to say, well, let's go and, buy cattle. You know what's going on with me in a farm. Do you understand what I'm trying to simply put down that help? I mean, you go back to what disappointed me on Saturday was, you do, and I'll say it, I don't care. You do bloody well, you dedicated, you put your heart, soul, and mind into that business of yours. You had 60 people there on Saturday. I thought you'd have, there's something wrong. I said to Alex, there should have been 1,060 people.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sunday, you put your heart and soul again in, and we got 37 people. There were 40 people. So why aren't we getting the people in? Why aren't people coming in to follow? It's a very interesting, and it's not debated. So I'm sorry if I'm taking time or wasting everybody's, but there's something wrong in this investing game. So anyway.
I don't disagree with you, Alan. I mean, you and I have had this conversation lots of times. I agree with you. There's something wrong, and we're doing our best to fix it. But it's one of those things where there's certain components. There's also regulatory stuff. So
Yeah.
You've got to be very careful. Like, again, if I was to say go buy gold, the very next thing I would have to say is I'm not giving financial advice. Blah blah.
Well,
blah.
just say that. I understand you can't give. I understand those rules. Put it up. The choice whether I buy gold and win or lose is my decision, not yours. But at least somebody's woken me up and said, "Go and buy a bit of bloody gold."
But I did.
Scott,
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, can I just, it's Heather Fora
Yeah.
here. Can I just put my penny's worth in? I disagree with Alan because I listened last night and it was consistent with what I heard in December. There was a caution around tech stocks, and they've done so well. They've done the heavy lifting for a while, but now you've got to be possibly a little bit cautious. Can they sort of maintain that level of return that they've been achieving? There was a clear direction around emerging markets looking like they are interesting. A thing around Europe. Europe is also looking like it's got potential. And then what was the other thing that came up? But just they can't say take 50,000 US dollars and put it in emerging markets. They said trim some of your profit and potentially reallocate it in these areas. For me, it was they couldn't be more clearer about what they see the trends are and what we as investors should be looking at. So for me, as also a novice investor, I feel that they do give us clear direction to the degree that they're allowed to without.
No.
But I think there's two different sides to that. There's obviously there's the difference when so if you sit with Anthony one-to-one, he's literally will tell you exactly what he thinks you should do for you. Okay. And
that's fine.
And he's licensed, he's able to do that. No, he's fully capable. But when it's in the group session, you can give broad strokes and stuff, but you can't say do that because obviously it's different for every person, you know.
That's right. So if you're not in that one-on-one, that's where I'm taking my cues from.
With respect, I don't agree with you at all. If you go on to other investment sites, go on to Darren Winters and go and listen to Sean Allison, they will come up there and tell you exactly as I've said. I've just used gold. Gold's is a good investment buy at the moment. Go and get a few. And they're not telling you how much to put in. You must decide how much to put in. $10. What I'm trying to illustrate, and I haven't got the point through, is no one's telling us what we should be looking to buy. Go and buy A, B, C, D. One of them will go sour, the others will do well. And how do we grow our portfolio? And so I say to Scott, do a portfolio for us. Let's test it. Let's see if I'm right. Do something now in January and let's see it in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. You don't go and buy it. Do a dummy run and let's see if something comes out of it. And then we'll all know.
Well, I think we can. I'll have to speak to Anthony about that, Alan. But they do that. I mean, they've actually got that.
Yet got a thing to see it, brother.
No, but I'm saying they've got a thing called backdating where they can actually go and look at like the trends backwards. I'll get the info from Anthony. I can't get I'm not 100% sure the exact lingo, but there is a way to look backwards and then obviously and to almost have a portfolio review, if you want to call it that.
I mean, they never even put up how total South African market did over the last 12 months. Yeah, but everybody else was on the screen, but no one said, well, then I shouldn't be investing anything in South Africa. Possibly.
There's two reasons for that, Alan. Firstly, I tell them the mandate is that we've got mastermind members from all over the world.
I agree.
So we don't focus just on South Africa. And secondly, South Africa is less than 1% of the global GDP. So it's not a major market when we're talking global diversification. So we very consciously don't want to be South African centric, if that makes sense.
Scott, all your people there, I mean, if you put there one line there, I'm sorry, sir, one line at the bottom, South Africa, this is what it was, they had with 5 headings. This is what the South African market done. You didn't have to dramatize it, you didn't have to do, at least you know the South African market's not all bad. and you invest in the South African market, or it is all bad, don't touch it.
Yeah,
I think there's got to be a change in us. You're never going to make money. It's a mess. I've told you this, and I just get excited when I sit tonight and I listen. And how do I? And the question's not how at the end of the year can you say, shit, we've had a damn good year. Let's go out and have a party. We've made X rand. How much should we be aiming? How much should we? I mean, where do you run a business and I haven't got to produce how much profit I have to make on a monthly and a yearly basis? Yes, it's going to go haywire along the way. You correct it. But somebody should be saying this year, if you do the following on the current, I know it changes every minute with Trump and all this shit that you hear, but this is what the opportunity is this year, or no opportunity.
But that's what, like, I would say that, you know, for the majority of people, they did that last year, and, you know, like the markets did really well, and I think people generally did really well last year. So that'd be my kind of take on it. You know,
anyway, I'm sorry to have kept everybody here time.
It's just, I think that the challenge is, Alan, there's a difference between the one-to-one stuff and the kind of the joint stuff, and I think that's the challenge. You know, like obviously it's a balance between the two that we're trying to work on. So yeah, but I'll chat to Anthony. I'd like to see what he says around the backdating. I haven't seen that before. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. So I'd quite like to see that. I think it'd be very valuable to see. You know, in terms of just kind of the way forward. I wanted to
just maybe, I guess, to add onto the conversation. What I'm kind of getting from Alan is that maybe there's a requirement from some to, I don't know if it's by Kelly or whatever, to have a small, you know, based on their needs and wants to have a small portfolio set up of low risk, medium risk, and a high risk, whatever that may be, with some examples, you know, in terms of what to invest in. Maybe it's sort of that, and I don't mean it disrespectful, but spoon feeding in some sort of a way to say these are 2 or 3 options, obviously at your own risk. You know, that's maybe something to consider.
Yep. Okay. I think I think what I'll do is, as I say, let me chat with Anthony and see. I mean, obviously all feedback is valuable. Then we can consistently try and get better. I think, yeah, the biggest thing I think is that it's also to implement what they recommend at the one-to-one level, because that's the key thing, is, you know, in terms of here's the plan, then execute on the plan. I think that's the key thing, you know, in terms of that level. Are there any other questions or thoughts? You know, it's I don't mind. I'm not in a rush, but is there anything else that I can do? I see a couple of people had to bounce, but anything else? Any other questions? Any other thoughts? I got a question for you guys. Next month, do you want to do crypto? So Steve Streetman on crypto and real estate and crypto, real estate and blockchain, or would you try? And I can't guarantee it, but I'm trying to get Mike Maloney, Alan, especially for you, on gold and silver. So, but I mean, obviously he's in high demand at the moment with the gold price going through the roof. So, yeah, I'm just letting you know they're the two that I'm trying to line up for the next month. Mike Maloney might not be I know, Ilda, I'm just telling you I'm trying. That's not a guarantee.
Yeah, good.
Crypto.
I think the gold one will be interesting, Scott.
Yeah, look, he was fascinating. When I went to the investor summit, he was amazing. But I know when I tried to get him before Christmas, he was flat out. Can you imagine what he's like now with the run that's happened? You know, he's basically like, this book's the most published book in gold and silver ever, and he's like basically known as the kind of the grandfather of gold and silver. So he literally went and studied the entire money system around the world. He went to every old ancient place, that like every money museum. Like he's basically spent his entire life like studying gold and silver. Very interesting person. But whether I can get him, what I think I might try and do with him, if I'm honest with you, is do what I did with Clem Santa. Because every time I say, can you do January? And he was like, no. Can you do February? He's like, no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, when are you available in May? and then work backwards. So that's what I did with Clem Santa. He was like too busy. And then I was like, well, are you available like next February? He was like, yeah, he is. Okay. I was like, good, book it. Just by the way, I don't know if you guys heard, Clem Santa's really sick.
No.
Yeah. So just keep that between us and our own community. But I won't be getting him live again. Well, no one will be getting him live again. He's very sick.
Oh.
What's up, Scott? Yeah.
It's I'm not going to go into the details, but he's sick. And yeah, but it's not recoverable sickness. So we won't be having him live on stage again, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's very, very sad actually. Yeah, because he's been super kind to me. Funny enough, I actually wrote him a letter to say thank you because when I spoke to him that night, I was like, wow, I don't know how many days I've got left, let alone weeks. And I wrote him a letter, and then I bumped into his son when I was at the rugby in Ireland. And he came up to me and said, oh, I was with my dad when he read the letter. You know, he was very, sorry, it makes me emotional, but he was very, very grateful.
Oh,
yeah. He's been very, very kind to me over the years. Anyway. Okay. Well, I think then we can probably rock and roll in terms of it. I'm sorry if I got a bit carried away with ChatGPT. Alan, I'm going to solve your problem. I'm just going to use AI to solve it though. I'm literally going to I'm going to figure out a way to program someone with all their information about that person personally, and then your AI can give you the right information as to what to do for yourself. So that's my intention. I won't necessarily do it by March, but watch this space. I guarantee I'll do it.
Great.
Anyway, cool, everyone. Have a lovely evening. I hope you enjoyed it. I will put the recording and the white paper up. You should already have the recording from last night. I'll put the white paper up as soon as I'm finished. I'm nearly done with it. And then today's recording, I have a problem with Zoom. My hard drive ran out of space, so I've got to figure out how to convert the Zoom recording, but I'll do that before I go to bed tonight.
Thanks, Scott.
Awesome. Cheers, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Cheers. Bye then.
Bye.